Judge issues arrest warrant for Jennifer Lopez. Aftershocking Ben Affleck testimony in Diddy case. Tonight, the spotlight doesn't shine on red carpets or gala premieres. It illuminates the somber steps of the Manhattan Federal Courthouse, where a legal showdown has cracked the facade of the entertainment world's elite. And at the heart of it, an Oscar-winning actor, a global music mogul, and a name no one expected to surface, Jennifer Lopez. This is not a screenplay. It's the unraveling of a narrative hidden beneath decades of silence-sealed court records and whispered rumors. And it begins not with a prosecutor, but with Ben Affleck gripping a worn leather notebook and stepping into the courtroom, not as an actor, but as a witness. He didn't appear with cameras flashing or smiles for the press. He emerged from the shadows of his own trauma, bringing with him what could be the most damning piece of evidence yet, a journal chronicling events that could permanently rewrite the legacies of some of the most recognizable figures in American pop culture. The courtroom was silent, not a gavel needed. All eyes turned when Ben walked in. He wasn't there to perform, he was there to testify. And what he unveiled stunned even the most seasoned court officials. According to Affleck's testimony, this wasn't just about Diddy, real name Sean Combs, and a string of ongoing allegations. This was about a hidden world, a concealed basement beneath a lavish mansion, and a high-profile figure tied to it all in ways no one had dared to publicly suggest until now. The notebook, which Ben claimed to have found in a hidden compartment beneath the living room of a Los Angeles estate, was filled with dates, names, and transactions. But more hauntingly, it included footage. A brief video clip showed a dim room, loud music and figures obscured by shadows. In the center, a woman resembling Jennifer Lopez stood beside Diddy. A girl entered the frame, wide-eyed and afraid. The video ended abruptly. The courtroom held its breath. Jennifer Lopez, seated in the gallery, reportedly kept her gaze fixed on the floor. No reaction, no rebuttal. Just silence. Why did Ben come forward now? That question lingered in every headline, every whispered conversation. For months, perhaps years, he had kept his distance. But then came a crash on a foggy road, a black SUV that seemed too precise, too deliberate to be coincidence. And after that, a threat scrawled in red across the walls of his parents' Boston home: keep quiet or your family's done. What followed was a methodical descent into a truth darker than Affleck could have imagined. As he began tracing suspicious patterns in Jennifer's behavior, late-night disappearances, cryptic messages, unexplained secrets, he uncovered not just betrayal, but orchestration. Documents linked to shell companies, an old burner phone with chilling messages, and finally, a marriage certificate Jennifer Lopez and Sean Combs dated 1999. It was never disclosed publicly. It wasn't romantic, it was legal, a mechanism to block spousal testimony. The implications sent shockwaves through legal circles. If authenticated, it meant Jennifer had knowingly or not protected Diddy from prosecution for over 2 decades. The illusion of the Latin pop princess, a woman once celebrated for her resilience and charm, began to fracture under the weight of implications too stark to ignore. Still, Affleck's decision to take the stand wasn't about vengeance. I loved her. Once, he stated firmly, his voice reverberating through the courtroom. But she chose to stand with the devil. Outside the courthouse, the world watched live as headlines ignited like wildfire. Inside, the judge ordered immediate federal action. The FBI was to verify the existence of the tunnel beneath the mansion. A subpoena for Jennifer Lopez followed, and within hours, she was gone, vanished. Her Beverly Hills estate was found empty. No trace, no staff, no exit plan filed, only whispers of a private jet and a destination beyond extradition. But even as one player disappeared from the board, another emerged stronger. Ben Affleck, who once walked away from the Hollywood machine, now returned not as a leading man, but as a symbol of resistance. The actor turned whistleblower had done more than speak. He had armed the justice system with undeniable evidence. As federal agents launched a wider investigation, court officials re-examined a case once thought buried, the infamous 1999 nightclub incident, where a young rapper named Shine served time while Diddy and Jennifer walked free. The judge's order: reopen it. Entirely? But if this was just the beginning, what else remains buried, and what role did Jennifer truly play to understand that we must go back before the testimony, before the crash, before the tunnel? The year was 2021. After nearly 2 decades apart, Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez shocked the world by rekindling their iconic relationship. Jennifer was back gracing magazine covers, walking red carpets, and reigniting nostalgia for a generation that once saw them as Hollywood's golden couple. But beneath the smiles and synchronized appearances, cracks had already begun to form. At first they were subtle: long phone calls late into the night, sudden changes in mood, moments where Jennifer would vanish only to return hours later, evasive, distracted. Ben dismissed them. Love, he reasoned, wasn't perfect, especially not in their world. But then came the night he saw the message. A brief chilling text on Jennifer's phone that read 2 a.m. Usual spot. Don't let Affleck know, he confronted her. She denied it. It's just the past, Ben, she said, eyes cold, voice brittle, but something in her tone betrayed the words. Then came the call. Ben, desperate for clarity, dialed the number attached to that message. The voice that answered was unmistakable, low, measured, deliberate. Diddy. What are you digging into, Ben, the mogul said. Watch yourself, or you'll bring trouble on your own head. Just click. A threat cloaked in calm. It was the moment Ben stopped hoping for answers and started looking for them. He noticed everything after that. The way Jennifer's footsteps would pause in the hallway, the faint metallic click beneath the floor, the coded language in her notes, a map scribbled in shorthand. He followed her one night. She drove without music, hands tight on the wheel. Her destination, an abandoned warehouse on the city's edge. There, under the cover of darkness, she met with a man. Tall. Cold. Recognizable only by the sharpness of his voice, it was Diddy. Ben hid behind crates, the distant echo of their conversation burning into his mind. She's in deep, he later told federal agents, but I needed proof. And he found it. Days later, he returned home with a crowbar and a plan. Guided by instinct and desperation, he pried up a loose floorboard in their shared living room. Beneath it, darkness. A tunnel damp with decay extended beneath the house. He descended. What he discovered wasn't just unsettling. It was incriminating. Cameras, safes, equipment. And inside a notebook, Jennifer's handwriting unmistakable. The entries were clinical, logistical. Shipments. Payments. Names. And one phrase that would haunt him. Make sure everyone stays quiet. Move the package through the fund. Even worse, a hard drive. When Ben connected it to his laptop, a video flickered to life. The images were murky but unmistakable. Diddy. A woman with Jennifer's profile. A younger girl terrified. The video cut to black. Ben stopped it there. He didn't need to see more. He documented everything: photos, backups, secure cloud links. Then hidden within a drawer, he found an old flip phone. A single unsent message still sat open. Shine took the fall. We're safe now. The 1999 nightclub shooting. The one that sent rapper Shine to prison while Diddy and Jennifer walked away. Ben cross-referenced court documents, public records, and reached out to an investigative journalist. The puzzle pieces aligned. Jennifer had been arrested, then released. Her testimony exonerated Diddy, but a victim had once sworn Jennifer brought the weapon into the club. One final detail confirmed Ben's deepest fear: the marriage certificate. Jennifer Lopez and Sean Combs married in secret, dated the same week of the nightclub incident. It was a tactical move, not love, legal immunity. It wasn't just about crimes. It was about a system built to protect those powerful enough to hide in plain sight. Ben realized then, if he didn't act, he'd be next. Because among the papers in that hidden safe were weapons registered under his name. It was a setup. He was meant to take the fall. He handed the bulk of the evidence to the FBI, but held one copy back, just in case. Just days later, another voice emerged: Cassie Ventura. A former partner of Diddy's, she testified under oath, recounting years of psychological manipulation and silence. But her statement ended with a sentence that echoed like thunder. In the courtroom, Jennifer was there. She knew. The judge leaned forward. The prosecution paused, and Ben, seated on the witness bench, stared straight ahead. Outside, media flooded the streets. The world wasn't just watching anymore. It was demanding answers. Inside the courtroom, the tension reached a breaking point. Diddy's defense team moved swiftly, launching a full-scale counterattack against Ben Affleck's credibility. They framed him not as a hero, but as a man scorned, consumed by bitterness, jealousy, and personal vendetta. This is an actor's performance, the lead defense attorney argued, a dangerous blend of fiction and fantasy, weaponized in a federal courtroom. Ben didn't flinch, because while the courtroom was ablaze with drama, outside forces were already moving. Social media swirled with speculation. Supporters hailed Ben as a whistleblower. Detractors called him unstable. Hashtags exploded. Opinion pieces surged. Even celebrities who once posted glamorous photos with Jennifer Lopez and Diddy quietly deleted them. But in court, facts, not opinions, would decide the outcome. So the judge did something few expected. He ordered a federal team to immediately investigate the mansion Ben had described. If a tunnel truly existed, if the safe, the video, the notebook were all real, then the case would take a seismic turn. And it did. Within 48 hours, FBI agents confirmed the tunnel's presence. They recovered a secured room lined with light surveillance equipment and a safe matching Ben's description. The notebook was real. The hard drive existed. The physical evidence corroborated Affleck's account. For the first time, the courtroom fell truly silent, not out of disbelief, but recognition. The case had pivoted. Suddenly, the focus shifted sharply to Jennifer Lopez. Her legal team scrambled to prepare a statement. But they never got the chance, because Jennifer had vanished. Her absence was not just suspicious, it was deafening. When subpoenaed to testify, she failed to appear. Within hours, the judge issued an arrest warrant. Soon after, federal agents arrived at her Beverly Hills estate. The house was empty. Surveillance footage from neighboring properties revealed only fragments, a private jet, loaded at night. A flight path leading to a country without an extradition treaty. No public confirmation, just silence and dust. The image of Jennifer Lopez, once the resilient icon of global stardom, now dissolved into whispers and unresolved questions. In the courtroom, Diddy remained still. But behind his eyes, something shifted. A smirk. The calm of a man watching his storm hit someone else first. Ben sat across from him unmoved, because he knew the battle wasn't over. If Jennifer was running, it wasn't just fear, it was strategy. Somewhere out there, more pieces of the puzzle were still hidden. More names, more complicit voices. The judge responded with unprecedented urgency. The 1999 nightclub shooting case was officially reopened. Records previously sealed under confidentiality were brought forward. Witnesses long thought unreachable were tracked down. It was no longer just about Diddy or Jennifer. It was about an entire system of protection, complicity, and silence. And Ben, once a bystander, was now the linchpin of the storm. But, just as momentum tilted toward justice, Diddy's legal team played their final card. A motion to discredit the notebook and its contents was filed. They claimed it was planted, fabricated, too convenient, a fiction wrapped in pseudo-evidence. But the prosecutor's response was simple. If it's fiction, then why did she run? The question hung in the courtroom like a blade suspended midair. And no one, not even the most confident voices on the defense, dared to answer. Outside, the headlines wrote themselves. Networks broke into regular programming. Social feeds turned into live transcripts. Analysts debated the legal ramifications, but the public. They felt the shift in their bones. Something that once seemed unthinkable, a full reckoning of the entertainment elite, was now unmistakably real. And then came the voice no one expected to hear again. Cassie Ventura returned to the witness stand. Her first appearance had rippled through the proceedings, but this time was different. She didn't just testify, she revealed. In detail, in sequence, with documentation. She spoke of events hidden behind NDAs and veiled threats, parties that weren't really parties, a culture built on control and loyalty where silence was rewarded and resistance was punished. She named dates. She recited exact phrases. She referenced logistics that matched the very notes in Ben's notebook. But what turned whispers into confirmation was this. Cassie recalled the same hidden room Ben had discovered. She described its layout, the lighting, even the model of the camera equipment. And then she said it plainly, heartbreakingly, Jennifer was there. She didn't say no. She knew. It wasn't shouted. It didn't need to be. The truth was steady, heavy, irrefutable. Ben sat still, hands clasped tightly together. He wasn't a victor. Not yet. But for the first time, he wasn't standing alone. The judge called a recess. Courtroom officials exchanged stunned glances. In the gallery, gasps turned to silence. And in the hallways, legal teams scrambled. Because now, this wasn't just a celebrity scandal. It was legal precedent in the making. A trial that would redefine how power, fame, and accountability coexisted in the American justice system. Still, the defense pushed forward with what little remained. They played the emotional card that Ben at his core was a man unraveling. A heartbroken ex-husband projecting blame. They tried to reframe Cassie as unstable. They even introduced expert witnesses to question the mental state of both. But the facts, the tunnel, the footage, the notebook, the marriage certificate spoke louder than speculation. And just when it seemed the trial had reached its limit, federal agents presented new evidence, digital traces of offshore wire transfers connected to shell companies. All linked to Diddy's enterprise. Some signed off by anonymous executives, others by a name now all too familiar. J. Lopez. The courtroom fell quiet once again. The implications were staggering. Not only had she vanished, but her digital trail lingered. And it placed her directly inside the financial core of the scheme. The judge responded swiftly. Motion denied. All defense challenges were dismissed. And a second warrant was issued this time, not just for evading testimony, but for obstruction and conspiracy. Outside, the nation erupted. Commentators debated whether Jennifer Lopez would ever return to U.S. soil. Fans were divided. But one thing was clear, her silence had transformed from mystery into confirmation. Meanwhile, Ben was moved to protective housing under U.S. Marshal supervision. Because the threats hadn't stopped. Anonymous calls, shadowed vehicles, online leaks. But none of it broke him. Because he had made his choice. And now he wasn't just telling a story, he was changing it. Ben Affleck stood not as the man who once vanished behind Hollywood, blockbusters, and paparazzi flashbulbs, but as the survivor who refused to be rewritten. Not by fame, not by fear, and not by those who had learned to bend the truth like light around their power. The final days of the trial arrived with a heaviness that no courtroom could shake. The prosecution rested their case with a simple, sobering phrase. This is not about celebrity. It's about accountability. Every seat in the gallery was filled. Reporters from 5 continents had descended on Manhattan. Protesters and supporters lined the courthouse steps. The world was no longer asking if something had happened. It was asking what, now, the jury's deliberation began. 12 citizens pulled from everyday lives, now tasked with deciding the fate of one of the most powerful men in entertainment history, and the legacy of the woman who had disappeared before they could question her. And in the meantime, a quieter moment unfolded. Ben visited the wreckage of his parents' home in Boston. The red spray-painted threat had long been cleaned, but its echo lingered. He stood in the living room holding the torn family photo the vandals had left behind. For the first time in months, he let his guard down. This isn't justice, yet he told the lone federal agent standing watch, but it's finally pointing in the right direction. Back in court, the jury returned. The verdict guilty on 3 counts: conspiracy, obstruction, and trafficking. A web of corruption that would now unravel in both criminal court and public conscience. Diddy's expression barely changed. A small tilt of the head. A long breath. No words. But the empire behind him had begun to collapse. Contracts pulled, sponsors vanished, associates distanced themselves in a carefully choreographed exodus. The sentence hearing was scheduled. But it wasn't the courtroom that demanded attention. It was the silence. Jennifer Lopez's whereabouts remained unknown. Despite extensive international coordination, no trace had emerged since her departure. Anonymous sightings, hushed rumors, nothing confirmed. But her absence no longer protected her. It defined her. And public sentiment shifted sharply. What began as confusion, could she really be involved, had turned into a reckoning. She was there. She knew, and she chose to vanish. Meanwhile, Ben Affleck quietly returned home. His role in the trial was over. The documents were secured. The danger reduced, but never fully gone. Reporters camped outside his property. Paparazzi returned. But his statement came not through interviews, but through action. He announced the formation of a foundation built to support whistleblowers inside the entertainment industry, provide legal aid to survivors, and dismantle the systems that had protected silence for so long. Its name, the Notebook Project. Named for the very object that changed everything. Public response was swift and emotional. Survivors from across industries came forward. Writers, assistants, stylists, musicians. Many echoed the same message. We saw it. We just didn't think anyone would believe us. Ben made no speeches. He didn't appear on talk shows. He gave no victory tour. Because for him, this wasn't about being right. It was about finally being heard. The final question of the trial, posed by the prosecution directed at the jury, and heard by millions, remains etched into the cultural consciousness. Do we measure justice by silence, or by those who break it? The answer echoed far beyond the courtroom walls. A reckoning had begun. And as the screen fades to black, one phrase remains not as a tagline, but a reminder. The fire of truth has been lit, and it will burn through every secret, no matter how deep, no matter how powerful.